Captain, Protoss is just easier to play. This game I started poorly as I misread the situation and prepared for a proxy, which was not the case. Despite, thanks to my opponent's poor macro, the game was even in the mid-game. I took few favorable fights with my 1-1 timing, which gave me a small lead in army supply, and head back home to prepare for the 2-2 push. When it hit, my opponent sent a couple of run-bys, which dealt massive damage, giving him a lead and killed me few minutes later. For the greater part of the game I was ahead in supply and upgrades, despite the disadvantage in the early game, yet I lost to a couple of run-bys. How is this fair? Few zealots trade very efficient without any control. If I would like to do drop, I would have to control them. Also, people always say how good Terran's defense is, but it is only if you're staying at home with your whole army. Once you're out on the map, you're really vulnerable to attacks. Protoss has batteries, cannons, and recall. When my 2-2 push came, my opponent was able to deflect my whole army with 3 Colossi and a couple of Immortals and a battery, while his 6 Zealots killed me at home. I know I could split the army, but what I am trying to say is that if I were Protoss, I just recall a part of my army or warp in Stadtluckers to defend. It would be easier because this race is easier to play. I do believe I played better than my opponent and it pisses me off even more. So Captain, is it Imba? Or do I suck? Name, Revelation, Race, Terran, League, Diamond, at 3.1k MMR, and the server is Europe. And our good friend Revelation just has the question, is it Imba or do I suck? One of the things that I really appreciated out of Revelation is that every single time he complained about something that Terran was lacking or that he struggled with, he would then mention 3 random things that Protoss has. He would say Terran has poor defense when they're out on the map, and then in parentheses it would say cannons, batteries, recall. Like a very strong argument for Protoss not needing to leave any army behind. If you're a Protoss player and you've ever played against Bio in your entire life, you know that even if you have 3 cannons and a battery somewhere, that is not going to be doing anything whatsoever against a straight up drop attack. Or like just a 2 medevac, or even a single medevac attack if there's any marauders in there. 3 cannons against 1 medevac might actually be fine. Like, that's a lot of resources that you're investing in defending. Yes, recall is a very solid way of pulling a part of your army home, but you still need to split your army in that case. And yes, it is definitely easier than splitting and then sending part of your army home, but you still need to split something, and it has a massive cooldown on it as well. You can't just use it every single time you're getting dropped. And as the issue here seemed to be, as I recall, multiple zealot run-bys, this probably wouldn't even have worked for you. But we're going to be focusing a lot this game on... this is a fast scout, by the way. We're going to be focusing a lot this game on the run-bys, checking the response time to run-bys, because the main complaint really is, hey, this is unfair. Like, Protoss has it so much easier. They don't have to micro their drops, they don't have to micro their run-bys. It just deals damage automatically. It's just way, way too strong. And that's a real issue. So, probe scouts, CC first. What is this? Barracks. Command center cancel. Now, this is a classic, of course. This is one that I've seen a lot in the past. What did this SCV scout? Let's have a look. Let's just have a quick look, okay, what this SCV scouted. This SCV scouted an assimilator, a second assimilator, forgot to check the pylon, or to see if there's anything in the main base, then saw a nexus and a second pylon. And the read here was that this was going to be a proxy. Now, if you proxy your first gate across the map, Protoss always needs a pylon in their main base as well, otherwise you're going to get massively supply blocked. On top of that, it's really difficult to play this type of build order with a proxy, because if you're getting a proxy, usually you also want to get a zealot initially out of the gateway, meaning that the nexus is going to be delayed. So even if you don't scout the pylon and the gateway and the cybernetics core, based on the timing of the nexus, based on the timing of the second gas, based on the timing of this pylon, you could still figure out that this is just a standard macro build, even if you don't see this, which didn't happen. However, Revelation has such poor scouting that I'm honestly kind of worried for him. If this is how he responds to something that is completely normal, I wonder what happens if, let's say, his girlfriend gets a text from a coworker asking to the link of the Google Doc. Like, what's he gonna do? Break up, burn down the house, move to the North Pole? Then 2 days later be like, oh no, actually, asking for the Google Doc was relatively normal. Because don't forget that he tries to talk about this as well. He said, this game I started poorly as I misread the situation and prepared for a proxy, which was not the case. Imagine this being your excuse. After 2 days, you burn down the house and move to the North Pole. And you come back, I'm sorry, I misread the situation. I thought you cheated on me, but that was not the case. And his girlfriend goes, all good. Just make sure it doesn't happen again. Like, it's not really how it works. This is a very impactful decision that is completely wrong. Like, everything, even if you believed it was a proxy, this entire response was incorrect. Against a proxy from a Protoss, you don't want to add extra barracks. You would want to add a factory for quicker tech. You would probably want a bunker on the high ground, so that I do agree with. But adding 2 barracks, by the time these barracks come into play, like, I just want to show everyone how ridiculous this response is. Even if his scouting or if what he believed was correct. Imagine this was a single gateway proxy with 2 zealots and a stalker. The response here was to get, 2 marines, then a reactor, then 2 barracks. None of these barracks would even be functioning yet at this point because he also went for double tech lab before building any extra marines. So at this point, there's 2 zealots punching his depot wall and there's a stalker on the low ground. And these buildings haven't even contributed anything whatsoever. Delaying your command center for no reason, delaying your tech for no reason whatsoever, meaning that any type of follow-up you're going to be doing will be so much later. The scouting was god-awful. Then the response to what you saw was god-awful. But also the response to what you believed you saw was terrible. Like, literally everything you did here was incorrect. As if you're walking in the desert and you see like an illusion, you know, far away from you. It's like, oh, there's water there, I'm thirsty. And you should know, first of all, that it's probably an illusion and that you shouldn't be heading there. But even if you truly believe it to be an illusion, which in this case you did believe, or you truly believe there to be water there, which in this case you did, then basically what you just did is turn around and start moonwalking away from the illusion where the water is. Like, every single move in this entire sequence made 0 sense whatsoever. And what did you say one more time? I misread the situation. Like, this is not misreading the situation. You misread the situation and you responded. You did everything incorrect here. Like, this game should be completely over at this point. If your response to a standard Nexus timing is to cancel your CC and to build 2 extra barracks, you don't even belong in Diamond yet. Like, this is an insane response in my opinion. And this should almost disqualify everything else in your entire piece. If Terran can have this little theoretical knowledge of the game at Diamond level, then I think this debate is settled already, and Terran is by far the easiest race to play. How is it possible that this type of response is viable at this level? I don't understand that. I don't get why that is possible. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. Protoss build also is balls, by the way. I do have to admit it. I'm not a huge fan of the...
Whoa. Rewind. Enhance. Solid moves.
I'm not a huge fan of the Stargate into 4-gate into Twilight Council. Twilight Council obviously should be way faster here. The tech is going to be way more important. The 4-gate makes very little sense. The probe production has been very poor as well. Yet Terran has less workers, has really crappy production as well. I mean, I guess 3-Rex Starport isn't even that bad. Not quite sure why we're seeing... Why do we have 500 gas in the bank, and why are we getting a tech lab first on the factory? Surely if you're investing in triple barracks, the first thing you want is not more tanks. Like, you already have the safety with the barracks. What you would want is units to get out on the map, in this case medevac. So reactor on the factory here would, in my mind, make a lot of sense. But instead, now you need to build the reactor here on the starport, which delays your initial medevac production by another 36 seconds. Did get caught out of position a little bit as well there. Haven't started an upgrade yet, despite having the money available on top of that. I really dislike the Protoss build, though. I will have to say that. I think the Protoss build here is extremely poor. We're floating a lot of energy as well. where what is this? This supply block for an immortal. I much would have preferred seeing an observer here, but despite all of this, I still believe Protoss is in a superior position. Is the first upgrade going to be an armor upgrade? That's very useful if your opponent builds an army consisting of probes only. Then the armor upgrade usually really helps, because you're taking less damage from the probes. By like, what is it? Probes do 5 damage, so, you know, then like minus 20% of the damage output. However, if your opponent builds Stalkers, Zealots, or Colossi, Sentries, Immortals, Storm, Dark Templar, Carriers, or Phoenixes, I think +1 attack is the better upgrade to get first. But in the very rare scenario that you're playing against a probe-messing Protoss player at Diamond level, then this is definitely the correct call. So once again, Terran showing very solid theoretical knowledge here of the situation. Has scouted the fact that there is a Stargate. Look at this Oracle. That's a lot of damage. Did one Oracle die already? No. Oh my god, this TOS is playing a perfect game. The only thing that's happened so far is oh no. Just lost an Oracle as I was talking about the perfect game. That actually makes me a bit sad. I was very hyped for the perfect game here for the Protoss. I wonder how long we could have kept that going. I love perfect games. Nothing has happened in the past 4 minutes, which makes sense because... What? Oh, we built a Viking as one of our first units. Interesting move. I'm not even quite sure how it is possible, but we've managed to move out later than a Terran would have moved out. If a Terran would open up with a triple CC opener and then go into 3 barracks. This was a single CC opener into triple barracks with a factory into starport. And the move out hasn't happened yet 8 minutes into the game. Hero Marine moves out at like 6:45 if he opens triple CC into 3 racks. Like, this timing is so insanely late. I don't even quite understand how it is possible. I feel like even if you just build like random units, you're gonna get medevac, stim, and combat shield faster than what Revelation did in this game. Well, Revelation believes there's a purpose behind his build orders as well. Also have 39 workers, 8 minutes into the game. Yes, Protoss only has 50, but we're not really looking at the Protoss when it comes to it. We're looking at Revelation right now. That was a move. That was not a good move. That was not a very good move out of the TOS whatsoever. I did not like that one. I would prefer if we do not do that in the future. Holy crap. Oracle. Ah, Revelation. Nice. Maybe a Stasis Ward as well would be really sick. Now, this is a fight that the Terran can't really take near a battery. Especially if 2 of the tanks are attacking the pylon. Might want to siege these up ASAP. There we go. Super battery gets activated. This is honestly not that bad of an engagement for the Protoss. I kind of like this engagement defensively here. There's only 2 medevacs, which means that every stim is pretty expensive. Super battery has been used. I like the pullback here as well out of Revelation. I like the fact that he's setting up a run-by. I hope he remembers to do the run-by. Often I see people set up a run-by and then forget about the fact that there is a run-by. But this looks... no thermal lens. Without... What is this? This is a very expensive spotter pylon. I've never seen this before in my life. This isn't even closer to the opponent's base, I think, is it? If you warp in at your 3rd base, that's probably closer to the aggression than this one is. Probably need to put like a ruler on the map or something and figure it out. I think it's going to be pretty close. Interesting move. Let's ignore it for now. Okay. Here comes a magical drop. Alright, I think this is what we were talking about. I just want to read, before we watch what's going to happen with this drop. What did he say again about the drop? If I would like to do drop, I would have to control them. Now, let's just take a look at the control here of the drop, okay? If I would have to do a drop, I would have to control them. That's a good one. So far, no control yet on the drop. Drop is flying in. This is a key moment when it comes to the drop. What are we seeing? 4 Stalkers in position, as well as a cannon, okay? Drop needs to be controlled, by the way, for Terran. Drop being controlled? No, not yet. No drop being controlled. Oh, here we go. Boost in and unloads. Nah, that was control. That was control. Lots of control going on here. Lots of control. Man, he's really controlling that. Did he even stim? Are these units aren't even stimmed, are they? No stim being used yet. No stim being used, okay? Protoss responds within what? 9-10 seconds or so to this drop. Not bad. Not terrible. Not great either. It's a fine response time for them. Like 10 seconds to respond to a drop. Drop doesn't get the pick off, but you do save the medevac. No micro in this drop whatsoever, okay? So far the claim that... And also you dealt quite some damage. I think, what, you killed like 10 workers or so? 10 workers, forced units to pull away, forced out a recall, just by a single drop that you didn't control whatsoever. That was decent damage for only being there 10 seconds, not even using stim, one of the most important spells in the entire game. Despite all of that, you're in a good position. You're getting into better upgrades. You have an okay army, you have a lot of medevacs. I'd prefer some more tanks. You are, for some reason, going into 8 barracks before 4 CC, which makes really no sense. You really just can't afford that. And like you can afford maybe single marine production from these. Sometimes you see 8 racks in the TVZ matchup with pure marine production, but I don't think you can quite afford this. You don't have enough SCVs, you don't have enough income to really afford anything quite like this. At least not in my mind. Like you also already are building Ghosts, which are quite expensive. You have 2 eBays. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you can completely afford it. And all of these barracks will be working the entire time. Which is unlikely, because right now there's only 2 barracks producing. So much rather would have seen a faster fort base. But it is what it is. Let's not focus too much on that. Once again, we've already established that the theoretical aspect out of Revelation hasn't been brilliant. The control so far has been okay of the main army, I think. I didn't actually pay too much attention, but no terrible mistakes except attacking the pylon here for a little bit. Didn't seem too bad. The theoretical aspect, the macro aspect, the build order aspect, map vision when it comes to that. No depot over here, no mines being spread out, no sensor tower, no blind turrets. Oh, here we go. As I said, he builds turrets. These turrets are useless, but I like these turrets, I like this turret, and I would like a turret over here as well in case of DTs. I think it's generally a good call. Single sensor tower would also help a lot. There's no marine spread, there's no depot spread, there's no fort base either with a planetary. All of these things definitely would be very, very helpful. Now here we go with the famed 2-2 timing. So if we look at this situation right now from an objective perspective, okay? I want to kind of get a feel for what the situation is. We're in a situation where there's 4 tanks, 11 Marauders, 25 Marines, 2 Ghosts, 5 Vikings, against 3 Colossus, 1 Immortal, 1 Disruptor, 9 Zealots. Now, I think if the Terran manages to set up in this area, it's going to be close to impossible for the Protoss to fight this. I also believe if the Terran attacks either this angle or this angle, that the Terran will not be capable of straight up winning because of the batteries, basically, and how the defense usually works for Protoss. Like, this is not a terrible situation. Ooh, look at that. Spots the run-by here. These are the famed run-bys, I guess. Oh, I love this already. I'm a huge fan of run-bys. Okay, here we go. Marines and Marauders being sent in here. So cleans up one of these run-bys, basically immediately. Is also aware of the second run-by already, don't forget that. These are the 6 Zealots that are going in now. At the same time, we're moving into the Protoss position in a good spot. I don't think Terran can just attack into this, but I could be wrong. So I would just like to notice something here, is that this, what was it? Let's just quickly go back into time a little bit, okay? When did this run-by get spotted? Well, we'll write it down mentally. I'll write it down in the game. 1, 2, 3, 4. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4. This gets spotted, okay? That is beautiful stuff. So, at this point, we're back here, it's already been a full minute. Don't forget, the Protoss took about, 10, 12 seconds or so to respond. At this point, the Terran hasn't responded to this yet, whatsoever. You could say, well, he's busy with the attack. Yes, earlier the Protoss, when responding, was busy with the defense as well. I often find defending harder than attacking, because when you're attacking, you can at least decide to just go back home and deal with something. There are some units just idling over here. There's some units idling over here. No response whatsoever. SCV's not being pulled away either. Instead, we're completely focusing on the attack here, which doesn't seem like it can ever really work. Like, if you look at the two armies, you should be capable of understanding that you're never going to be capable of beating this army in a super battery, especially not if you're fighting largely without your tanks. Zealot's still going ham. Almost get the orbital command center here. It's been a full minute at this point. We've seen units being F2'd across the map. SCVs still haven't returned to mining. Like, I like that you say, if I had recall, I would be capable of dealing with this very well. If you had recall, you would have recalled over to your third base, and then your units would have F2'd back to your main army. Like, let's stop pretending here that you didn't have units in position. There were 4 units over here. You had 2 Marauders and a Marine over here. You had reinforcements coming in as well. You just didn't respond for a full minute so far to 6 Zealots. A full minute. You didn't move your stim or your Marines. You didn't even stim them once. And your opponent lost 10 workers. Now, you didn't do anything here. And yeah, you lost 20 workers as well. Or however many you ended up losing. Yeah, probably around 20, 22 workers. Like, that is just what happens. If you're getting harassed and you don't respond whatsoever, you're going to lose a lot of units. You have plenty of units in position. The problem isn't even splitting your army. The problem is that the only hotkey that you use to move your army is F2. And that is what's breaking you up here. That's what's ruining your life. How do these guys even manage to get into this base is absolutely beyond me. Take out another 15 workers or so. At this point, the game is completely over. There's nothing you can do anymore. This army is going to get cleaned up as well. Colossus stand here. I just don't understand how you can watch this replay and that your conclusion is that you wish you had recall. Like, if I were you, I'd wish that I had someone to tell me to just use the units, you know, like a mental reminder or something like that. Wish for a higher IQ, but I wouldn't wish for a recall button. It wouldn't have helped. You had the units, they were in position, you just didn't use them. You're literally standing over here, some Marines and a Ghost. You had like Marauders over here as well. These are ridiculous. It's really not okay. Blaming this poor Protoss player who's been doing a fantastic job when it comes to responding. You can say a lot about this TOS. I don't like the build order. Don't like some of the fights he took. Don't like some of the decisions. But the response time has been really on point. Maybe Revelation has the minimap covered at all times to improve his auditory senses, you know? That is a real possibility. I like this multitasking. I think it's quite good. Once again, no response, of course. Even with recall, like, there's units in position practically. You're just waiting 20... They're just walking by. Why are we pretending that the... Okay. Now you might think that these Marauders and Marines responded to the Zealot run-by, but what happened here is he used F2 and stimmed his entire army and then pressed A move. And because the most close-by threat were these Zealots, these Marauders are moving in. You can see it because they're stutter-stepping forward to try and kill these Colossus. He accidentally cleared the Zealot run-by. Don't get tricked here. This was not on purpose. Recall would have done absolutely nothing here. Yongcho with a well-deserved win. It would be easier because this race is easier to play. I could split the army, but what I am trying to say is that if I were Protoss, I'd just recall a part of my army. Okay, this is the line that pisses me off the most in this entire thing. It makes no sense whatsoever, because we've seen time after time again that even if you would have infinite recalls, even if your units would have teleport with no cooldown whatsoever, just like the battle cruisers have, except they have a cooldown, of course, what would happen is you would recall back home, or you would teleport back home, then you would A move with your main army and accidentally clear up the run-by. Like, there seems to be absolutely no idea on how to split your army whatsoever, how to use different groups of units in any normal way. Protoss is... Okay, maybe in some ways Protoss is easier. This game, I haven't seen any of that whatsoever. If you're gonna make that claim, you're gonna need way better evidence than this, my friend. This wasn't it. This was just you sucking. And that's the truth. All right, that's going to be it for me today. Thanks all so much for watching. I hope you did enjoy this episode of IODIS. If you did, don't forget to like button, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget, you can submit your own IODIS complaint form using the Google Docs link below. That will be it for me, and bye-bye.